Hello, I'm Rachel Hoffman, and with me is Liz Candler. We are contract analysts in Vita Supply Chain Management. In this training, we are going to discuss the importance of including performance metrics and enforcement provisions, also referred to as performance measures or a service level agreement, in your information technology contracts.
The information included in this training, along with additional guidance, will be available on the Vita website at the link displayed on the screen.
You may have wondered why your agency needs to include performance metrics and enforcement provisions in your high-risk solicitations and contracts. The Code of Virginia 2.2-4303.01A through C requires Vita to ensure executive agency high-risk solicitations and contracts contain clear and distinct performance metrics and enforcement provisions, including remedies in the case of non-performance. However, we recommend you include these service level metrics in all your contracts for the following reasons. First, performance metrics measure a supplier's success in delivering goods and services per the terms of the contract by capturing data on performance at regular intervals and comparing this data to the agreed upon performance standards in your contract. Second, enforcement provisions are designed to motivate the supplier to consistently meet or exceed these agreed upon performance standards. Third, together, performance metrics and enforcement provisions are the framework of a strong contract and aid in ensuring a supplier's contractual obligations are fulfilled on time, promote reliability, quality, and consistency in the service being provided.
Even though we've discussed why performance metrics and enforcement provisions are important, you may wonder, what are performance metrics and enforcement provisions? Performance metrics are standards of service mutually agreed to by the agency and the supplier that serve as a baseline to measure a supplier's performance against the most critical aspects of the contract, while enforcement provisions are contractual or financial provisions that incentivize the supplier to perform the specifications and regularly adhere to the performance measures outlined in the contract.
How do you know if you have drafted clear and distinct performance metrics? They will have the following characteristics. They are understandable, they are measurable, they are actionable, such as what corrective actions will be taken to improve performance, they are correlated or drive desired outcomes, and they align with agency business objectives. As a best practice for clear and distinct performance measures, we recommend your contract include a service level agreement, or SLA, which defines the level of service expected from the supplier. The SLA lays out the performance metrics by which a service is measured and the remedies to be collected should the agreed upon service levels not be achieved. The service level table displayed is in the Vita RFP template and is provided to agencies as a guide. An agency should include their performance measures for the services to be provided in the solicitation and require a supplier's response as part of their proposal. A supplier's edits to the service level table can be addressed during negotiations. Your performance measures should contain a defined performance standard, measurement criteria, measurement definition or calculation, a measurement period or frequency, target service levels, and a remedy for noncompliance.
You may also wonder, how do I know if I have drafted clear and distinct enforcement provisions? Clear and distinct enforcement provisions have the following characteristics. They incentivize the supplier, they include remedies, and they hold the supplier materially accountable. As a best practice for clear and distinct enforcement provisions, your contract should include contractual requirements in which legal terms and conditions, such as termination for convenience or breach, contractually bind the supplier, and financial requirements such as legally sufficient financial credits or payments, which are paid to the procuring agency from the supplier in the case of deficient or non-performance. Examples of financial credits or payments include financial remedies assigned and scaled to each performance metric, credits in the form of a percentage on the monthly invoice following a supplier's lack of or deficient performance, and liquidated damages for critical services. We've talked about what clear and distinct performance metrics and enforcement provisions look like, But how do they work together? The table displayed shows how performance metrics and enforcement provisions work together to make the strongest contract, and the similarities and differences between performance measures and enforcement provisions and remedies. Performance metrics define in clear terms what is being measured, the minimum standard of service delivery, and the frequency with which the standards will be evaluated, while enforcement provisions and remedies provide reasonable and appropriate financial or contractual provisions tied to each performance metric to be enacted in the case of poor or non-performance by the supplier. Performance measures and enforcement provisions and remedies maximize the value of the procurement for the Commonwealth and its customers.
To further aid your understanding, we have pulled examples of performance measures that are clear and distinct versus metrics that are unclear or missing information. In this example, we have a performance metric for a mobile application. This metric is compliant for the following reasons. First, the performance standard is defined: mobile application uptime availability. Second, it is clear what is being measured: mobile application availability. Third, the definition provides the formula for how compliance will be measured: number of seconds the mobile app is available to end users divided by the total number of seconds the mobile app is monitored. Fourth, the measurement period is defined and the frequency is appropriate, which in our example is weekly. Fifth, the target service level of 99.9% is included and provides for any exceptions, such as scheduled and pre-approved maintenance. Sixth, the remedies are distinct and detail the percentage to be credited in the event the SLA is missed, which in our example is a 3% credit on the total monthly service fee.
In this example, we have a non-compliant SLA for the following reasons. 1. The performance standards are not explicit enough, and there are no specific indicators of success for most of the SLA. For example, the agency has identified uptime as a performance standard and a measurement of system availability, but there is no definition of uptime or system availability. This will affect the agency's ability to successfully collect on the outlined remedies. 2. The performance remedies are not clearly defined. Also, you can see that the agency has outlined the credit amounts for each metric in the case of deficient or non-performance. However, it is unclear when or how these remedies will be collected from the supplier.
In this example, we have performance metrics and associated remedies on the time frame it takes to resolve system incidents based on the severity level of the issue. This SLA is compliant for the following reasons. 1. The performance standard is defined. Incident resolution time with a severity rating of 1 must be resolved in 2 hours or less. Additionally, a severity rating of 1 is defined as a critical priority. 2. It is clear what is being measured: the percent of severity 1 incidents resolved within 2 hours or less. 3. The definition provides the formula for how compliance will be measured: the total number of severity 1 incidents resolved within 2 hours or less divided by the total number of resolved severity 1 incidents. 4. The measurement period is defined and the frequency is appropriate, which in our example is monthly. 5. The supplier's expected target service level of 98% is included. 6. The remedies are distinct and detail the percentage to be credited in the event the SLA is missed, which in our example is a 5% credit on the total monthly service fee.
In our last example, we have an SLA that is non-compliant for the following reasons. First, a review of supplier compliance with performance standards should be regular and consistent. In this SLA, the agency has provided for a review of the SLAs once per fiscal year, but ideally, the agency and the supplier would evaluate the SLAs more frequently, such as monthly or quarterly, to determine if remedies need to be collected. Second, there is not a description of the standards identified. For example, the agency has identified unscheduled downtime as an SLA. However, there is no definition of what constitutes unscheduled downtime or how unscheduled downtime will be measured. And finally, there are no minimum standards of service listed, which puts a supplier at an advantage to provide or negotiate service levels that do not necessarily maximize the value of the investment.
Thank you for viewing this training session on performance measures. We hope you found this information informative and useful.
As a reminder, the information we covered today, including additional guidance on performance measures, is available for your review at the link displayed on the screen.
If you have questions on the content presented or performance measures in general, you may contact us directly or email scminfo@vita.virginia.gov.